Why Germany lost World War II. World War II was one of the most devastating and complex conflicts in human history, and while Nazi Germany initially experienced stunning military successes, by 1945 it lay in ruins. The reasons for Germany's defeat are many, involving a mix of strategic miscalculations, overwhelming Allied strength and internal failures. This article explores the key factors behind Germany's loss in World War II. 1. Overextension and strategic overreach. One of Adolf Hitler's most critical mistakes was overextending Germany's military might. The 1941 invasion of the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa, opened up a vast eastern front that Germany was ill-prepared to sustain. German forces advanced deep into Soviet territory but became bogged down by harsh winters, poor logistics, and fierce Soviet resistance. Simultaneously, Germany was fighting on multiple fronts. In North Africa, Western Europe, and eventually Italy. This spread their forces too thin and made coordinated defense and resupply extremely difficult. 2. Failure to defeat Britain. After conquering France in 1940, Germany attempted to force Britain into submission through air attacks in the Battle of Britain. However, the Royal Air Force (RAF) held firm, and Hitler postponed an invasion of Britain indefinitely. Britain became a critical base for future Allied operations, including the D-Day invasion in 1944. The failure to neutralize Britain ensured that Germany would always face a threat from the West. 3. The Soviet counteroffensive. Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union ultimately backfired. After early successes, the tide began to turn with the Battle of Moscow, 1941, and decisively with the Battle of Stalingrad, 1942-43, where an entire German army was encircled and forced to surrender. The Soviet Red Army pushed relentlessly westward from that point, eventually reaching Berlin. Germany's military could not keep pace with Soviet industrial production and manpower. 4. U.S. entry into the war. The entry of the United States into the war after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 was a turning point. With America's vast industrial capacity, the Allies gained a decisive edge in resources, weapons production, and manpower. The U.S. supplied Britain and the Soviet Union through the Lend-Lease program and led major military campaigns in North Africa, Italy, France, and Germany. 5. Allied air superiority and bombing campaigns. By 1944, the Allies had gained air superiority over Europe. Strategic bombing raids devastated German cities, factories, and infrastructure. Oil refineries and transportation networks were primary targets, and their destruction crippled the German war machine. Without fuel, tanks and aircraft were rendered useless. Morale on the home front also collapsed under constant bombing. 6. Hitler's leadership and military blunders. Hitler's increasingly erratic leadership played a significant role in Germany's defeat. He often overruled his generals, insisted on holding ground when retreat would have saved troops, and launched poorly timed offensives like the Ardennes counteroffensive, Battle of the Bulge, in 1944. His ideological obsession with racial purity and hatred of communism also led to strategic miscalculations, such as underestimating the Soviet Union. 7. Axis weakness and lack of coordination. Germany's allies, particularly Italy, were militarily weak and required German support to maintain their war efforts. The Axis powers failed to coordinate strategy effectively. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor brought the U.S. into the war but did nothing to help Germany directly. Meanwhile, Germany's atrocities in occupied territories alienated potential allies and fueled fierce resistance movements. 8. Resistance movements and partisan warfare. Across Europe, resistance movements played a crucial role in undermining German occupation. In France, Yugoslavia, Poland, and the Soviet Union, partisans sabotaged German operations, gathered intelligence for the Allies, and tied down thousands of German troops who were needed elsewhere. 9. Superior Allied production and logistics. The Allies, especially the U.S., outproduced Germany in nearly every category: tanks, planes, ships, and ammunition. American factories operated around the clock, and the Allies established secure supply lines across the Atlantic. Germany, meanwhile, faced increasing shortages of raw materials and fuel, severely limiting its war-making capacity by 1944-45. Germany's defeat in World War II was the result of a convergence of military, strategic, and political failures. While early victories suggested German dominance, the tide turned due to the resilience of the Soviet Union, the industrial power of the United States, the failure to subdue Britain, and disastrous decisions by Hitler. In the end, the Allies' coordinated efforts, sheer economic power and superior strategy ensured victory over a regime built on aggression, ideology and conquest.